Hi, it's Writing Wednesday, and I was trying to decide what I should do my video about this week. I decided to do something that I saw a lot of great video bloggers, including my own son, do a while back, and that is a Draw My Life video. Except that I decided to draw my life as a writer, because that's what this channel's about. Speaking of my son, by the way, he, along with his band, unwittingly provided the soundtrack for this video by practicing in the next room while I was recording it. So, as a child, I was always a storyteller, and even before I was able to write things down, I used to narrate life in my own head. Like when people talked, I would add little speech tags, he said, she said, which turned out not to be a sign of mental illness, to my great relief, but a sign of a future career as a writer. And as soon as I could write, I was writing. My first published work appeared in a church magazine to which I sent my poem at age 9, and they published it not in some kind of kids' corner, but just on a regular page of the magazine with a full-page illustration, just as if it had been written by a grown-up, and that was wildly exciting to me. And as a result, I was kind of bitten by the bug of submitting my stuff for publication, which I continue to do to other church, kids, and youth magazines throughout my growing up and teen years. In the summer after my second year of college, a church publishing company, Review and Herald, advertised a writing competition for new writers. They wanted to see some fresh manuscripts, and I decided this would be a great opportunity for me to sit down and write not my first novel, but my first novel that was going to be intended for publication. So I did that during the summer. I should point out, by the way, I did not have the illusion that this was my summer job, or that was how I was going to make money to go back to college in the fall. I had a regular day job that summer, just like I always did, but in the evenings and on weekends, I would be sitting at my mom's old IBM Selectric, tapping out the novel that turned out to be All My Love, Kate. I did enter it in that contest, and it won second prize. Nobody won first prize. I don't know why they didn't just give me first, but the important thing was that even second prize came with the promise of getting your book published, and 2 years later it was published, making me a published book author before I was a college graduate. Like the poem when I was 9, that was the kind of heady success that made me want to keep going, and over the next several years I continued writing books, mostly young adult books, for this same Christian publisher and this fairly small Christian, in fact mostly Seventh-day Adventist market. It was really enjoyable, and I loved seeing my work come out in print, but I really wanted to reach a wider audience, and I wanted to test myself a bit more and try to write something a little more literary. So over the next few years, I did a lot of things. I spent some time writing short stories. Even though I don't even enjoy reading short stories, I thought that was what you were supposed to do as a literary writer. I thought you were supposed to produce a lot of short stories, then a short story collection, then a novel. I also wrote a massive 2-volume fantasy novel in which no publisher ever showed the slightest interest. And in the late 1990s, I started work on a historical novel, figuring, well, I like historical fiction, it's what I enjoy reading, why not write it? And I'd always wanted to write a novel about this woman called Esther Johnson, whom I had written a paper on in college. It was also about this time that I started having babies, well, 2 of them anyway, and I quit my day job, which was teaching, and during the years I was home with my kids, which was 7 years, I was freelancing. It was the only time in my life I was ever seriously writing for money, and while it was great to be able to supplement the family income with stuff I wrote, I found it very frustrating because most of my writing time was going on stuff that other people were excited about, not stuff I was excited about. I continued working on the historical novel, and in 2003 I got an agent, and not long after she got me a publishing contract with a fairly big name publisher. Sunshine, rainbows, happiness, and success showered down upon me. I thought this was going to be the turning point of my writing career. I was very excited because that was always the goal, to get with a big publisher. During the very long period, about 2 years between this novel getting accepted and when it was released, I was also continuing to write for the Christian publisher that I'd been with. I was writing historical novels based on biblical characters and really enjoyed those, found that very satisfying. My book with the big name publisher, Violent Friendship, was released in January 2006, and even before the release date, I could tell that something was going very wrong. The book was released only in paperback. There was no talk of sending me on a book tour. In fact, there didn't seem to be any marketing plan to back up the fairly generous advance that I had been given, and so I wasn't surprised when the book sold barely a handful of copies, didn't earn back its advance. The agent was unable to sell my next book, and that was probably the low point of my writing career. I got very discouraged. But the book my agent couldn't sell was By the Rivers of Brooklyn, a historical novel based in Newfoundland. It was accepted by a local publisher, Breakwater, released in 2009, and no, it never became a national bestseller or an award winner, but it introduced me to lots of readers here in Newfoundland, where I live, who really loved the book, related to it. I got to visit a lot of book clubs. It was a great experience, and so was the release of my next book, That Forgetful Shore, in 2011. I was also continuing to write books for the Christian market during this time, and I also wrote 3 contemporary novels that were more sort of literary fiction, each in their own way I thought was brilliant, and I figured it was going to be my ticket to another contract with a big publisher and huge success. This didn't happen. None of those 3 novels got accepted or published anywhere, but I kept on writing, continued working on new projects. I think when writers tell their stories, you expect them to have a turning point, a moment when you're discovered, when you wake up one day and your book is on the bestseller list or Oprah is talking about it and you achieve success beyond your wildest dreams. And that kind of moment has never happened to me. But I do get to write the stories I love. I get to see at least some of them in print, and I get to talk to people who've enjoyed my books. And as time goes by, I'm learning to accept that success doesn't always happen on the bestseller list. Sometimes it happens right where you find yourself.